Leon Bockham was born on December 22, 1978, and named after his father.
Leon was a junior. Only the immediate family called him JR. His friends called him Leon.
But no matter what name Leon went by, the affable man with the wide smile amassed friends wherever he went.
He was a happy person. He could be serious. When it came to his family, he was very serious. But he was just a very happy person. He smiled a lot. He had a big smile, big heart.
But for Leon, family always came first, especially when it came to his grandmother, Natalie.
He and his grandmother were very close. Whenever he had something on his mind, he would go talk to his grandma.
After graduating from Stadium High School in Tacoma in 1998, Leon entered the local workforce, building a career from the ground up.
He wanted to get his own apartment, get a job, be on his own, get his own car, be his own man. So that's what he did.
Before long, Leon's winning attitude unlocked the door to the future he wanted.
He eventually got a job at Boeing, a manufacturing plant that made airplanes, and he enjoyed a very nice income at Boeing.
By 2002, Leon's good luck got even better when he met the stunning Yumiko Roberts.
You mind if I buy you a drink?
Yeah, sure.
They met at a club, and he said, I've met this girl. I really like her.
I mean, he was enthralled with her. He absolutely adored her. She was everything that he wanted.
May I have your number so I can maybe talk to you later?
Yeah, I think I like that.
What's your number?
From that first magical night onward, Leon and Yumiko became inseparable.
You couldn't stop talking about how beautiful she was.
Home sweet home.
Sweet home.
Yumiko was a working single mother. She worked at a telecommunications company. She did everything she could to provide for her son. And when Leon came along, he was like a father figure to that boy.
He was a great resource to that young man. And from all that I know, they got along very well.
As Yumiko and Leon's romance deepened, Leon confessed to friends and family this could be the one.
I never dreamed we'd have a laugh like this.
He loved that girl from the top of her head to the soles of her feet.
I love you.
I love you more.
Those two were very affectionate towards each other.
They dated for about 2 years, and around 2004, she became pregnant with Leon's child, and they started living together.
In 2005, Leon and Yumiko welcomed a beautiful baby girl into their family.
He loved the idea of being a father, so when he had his daughter, he was over the moon. He was so in love with that baby.
After Leon and Yumiko welcomed their second child, a son, in 2007, they cemented the bonds of their love affair once and for all.
In 2008, they had a gorgeous wedding. Yumiko made a stunning bride.
Afterwards, Leon spared neither effort nor expense to ensure his family had everything they wanted.
Leon found a home in a neighborhood that he wanted to raise his family. He was just so proud of it.
With a happy family and a beautiful house, Leon seemed to be living the life he always imagined. But on a warm July night in 2012, 10 years after Leon and Yumiko first met, that dream life came crashing down. Pierce County Sheriff's Detective Mark Murad is at his desk in nearby Tacoma when the call comes in.
Murad, what's the address? We'll be right there. Got a body. Go.
I responded to the scene. The initial thought from the deputies at the scene was that the person possibly had been hit by a car.
But as Detective Murad takes a closer look at the victim, it's obvious this is no accident.
He had white duct tape wrapped around his ankles and his wrists and around his head, which was covering his eyes. The subject had been shot one time in the back around the shoulder blade area.
Based on the condition of his body, they believe that his death occurred in the last 24 hours.
Now that this investigation is officially a homicide, Detective Murad and his team begin sifting through the dense vegetation for evidence.
Where Leon's body was found, we actually found, I believe there were 3 peanut packaging styrofoam pieces. We also found at the scene a Dora the Explorer card.
Were these items simply roadside debris or a possible link to Leon's killer? At this point, no one knows. Authorities deliver the tragic news to Leon's family.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am. This is Detective Murad. We believe we have found your son deceased in the woods this evening.
When I heard those words, I remember that I screamed, "What happened? Where is he?" And then I don't remember much after that.
I just couldn't believe he was gone. I just couldn't believe it. Who would want to do something like that to someone like Leon?
While the hurt and anger is more than Leon's friends and family can bear, by the time detectives contact Leon's wife, Yumiko, at her home the following morning, they're already pursuing a potential lead.
Detective Sergeant Adamson found that Leon Bacham had actually been arrested a few months prior in relation to a domestic violence incident involving his wife.
Sorry to have to ask you about this in your difficult time, but did you and Leon have any marriage difficulties?
Yes. Yes, we were having problems, but I loved him. I can't believe he's gone.
Yumiko describes the event that put Leon at odds with the law a few months earlier. It all started one night after Yumiko had put the children to bed.
Memorial Day weekend, Yumiko and Leon get into a really big fight.
Yumiko! Yumiko!
Leon has discovered text messages on Yumiko's phone.
Man, who is this? Who's texting you?
Are you going through my phone?
Who the hell is texting you this time of night? Oh, you tell me who's texting you. He had become suspicious that Yumiko was having a relationship with someone.
That is just my friend from work. Why are you going through my phone?
The text messages are from a guy that Yumiko works with. And when you read the text messages, it definitely seems like she's having an affair with this guy.
Yumiko says the argument escalated until Leon did the unthinkable.
Leon had struck her in the face, allegedly breaking some sort of a facial bone she had to go to the hospital for.
Yumiko claims when her mother, Jackie, found out what happened, she couldn't let such an offense go unpunished.
I can't believe Leon hit you. I treated that boy like my own son, and he does this to you.
He was just angry.
No, that's no excuse.
Jackie is furious. They get to the house, Yumiko goes inside, and Jackie decides to call the police.
Leon was arrested for that domestic violence incident. The court issued a no contact order prohibiting from being at the shared residence.
But Yumiko says in the days and weeks that followed, Leon apologized for his behavior, and they agreed to try to work things out.
Yumiko did tell us that she allowed Leon to stay there on occasion. Sometimes he would stay at his grandmother's place in Tacoma, but half of the time he was staying with her.
According to Yumiko, her relationship with her husband seemed on the mend until the morning of July 11th, 2012.
That morning, when she was getting ready to go to work, Leon confronted her about the way she was dressed.
Like, who wears that to work? You trying to get all beautified because you've been texting that guy at work. I'm not stupid, Yumiko.
She decided that when she got off work that she was going to take the 3 kids and herself up to a Comfort Inn in Federal Way area and spend the night in order to avoid any conflict with Leon.
But the following day, Yumiko says Leon was nowhere to be found. When detectives ask Yumiko if she knows why Leon may have been in remote Gig Harbor, her answer surprises them.
Yumiko's parents' house, Jackie and Nathaniel Ray's house, was about a mile north of the location where the body was found.
Were they home that night?
No, they were out camping. That's why this doesn't make any sense.
Yumiko told us that her parents gone to the Potholes, which is Moses Lake area of Washington.
She says, my mother was with my father on a camping trip. They left on Tuesday.
Investigators wrap up their interview with Yumiko, but not before asking the one question now burning on everyone's mind.
Did you have anything to do with Leon's murder?
No.
No.
No, I loved him.
Well, thank you very much. We've taken up enough of your time.
July 13th, 2012. Less than 24 hours after Leon Bakum's body was found along a remote roadside in Gig Harbor, Washington, local authorities are trying to piece together a timeline. They interview Leon's grandmother, Natalie Leaf, who often hosted Leon overnight.
I'd like to ask you a couple questions about Leon, if I could.
Leon told his grandmother he'd be staying with her Wednesday, July 11th, and that's what she told police, but she says she never saw him that night.
And he didn't show up.
When Natalie got up to go to work at 5:30 in the morning on Thursday, she noticed that Leon's Escalade was not parked in the parking lot of the complex.
Natalie says she tried to reach Leon, but never got a hold of him. And when she returned from work that evening, she noticed something strange.
His vehicle was not present at their house the night before he was killed or the night he was killed. And then after the homicide, it was parked out in the parking lot.
For law enforcement, the implications are serious. Had Leon's murder been carefully planned by someone familiar with his habits?
Whoever did this knew Leon. They knew that if he was at his grandmother's house, he was probably spending the night away from his marital home.
Investigators start with Yumiko's mother and stepfather, whose home is located a mile from where Leon's body was found.
Thanks for coming out. Got a couple questions for you.
I ended up contacting Nathaniel and Jackie Rape and arranged for them to come down to our office for an interview.
When the Rays speak to investigators, they corroborate Yumiko's statement that they'd been camping 200 miles away at Moses Lake.
Yumiko called me in the middle of the night and told me what happened. I was just devastated to hear about Leon.
Jackie wanted to come right back home, but the weather was terrible. So I said, let's just wait until it lets up.
So we ended up driving back the next morning.
It sounds like Jackie and Nathaniel were both pretty torn up about what happened.
But as investigators listen to the couple's account, they learn something interesting. Apparently, Jackie and Nathaniel didn't arrive at Moses Lake together.
We were supposed to go together, but Yumiko called me and told me that she and Leon had a fight Wednesday morning, and that she and the kids were gonna stay in the hotel.
Now, Jackie, her mother, is supposed to be on a vacation, but she needs to take care of Yumiko. She goes to the hotel, she checks Yumiko and the kids in, pays for the hotel, and that's where Yumiko is for the entire evening on July the 11th.
So I ended up driving up to the lake the next day. Yumiko called me that night. It was heartbreaking, even though my daughter and Leon had their problems.
She was honest with us, and she said that Leon wasn't her favorite person. She had concerns, especially after the domestic violence incident a couple months prior.
Thank you for your time.
But when detectives review Yumiko and Jackie Ray's statements, they note a significant discrepancy.
Yumiko's statement that Jackie had already left to go to the campsite with her husband isn't true, because Jackie was with her the day that she checked her into the hotel on Wednesday, July the 11th. So this isn't true, and it makes police wonder, what is it that Yumiko knows?
Detectives subpoena Yumiko's cell phone records and find out that Leon's suspicions of her infidelity may have been justified.
They see she's texting her coworker, and while the nature of the communication is inconclusive, it's the timing of the text that gives detectives pause.
Before Leon was killed, Yumiko was actually talking to a coworker. During the time that the murder was taking place, there is no communication between Yumiko and the coworker. After Leon is murdered, communication resumes. So this is very curious.
Even more significant is that according to cell phone tower signals, Yumiko's phone was nowhere near the Comfort Inn in Federal Way on the night of July 11th.
They are able to place her phone in the vicinity of Gig Harbor, where Leon's body was found.
The police are wondering if Yumiko could be involved. Did she want Leon out of the picture so that she could pursue this relationship with the coworker?
Naturally, one person of interest is the man Leon believed Yumiko was having an affair with, her coworker, Michael Brooks. According to Leon's mother, her daughter-in-law's alleged infidelities blindsided her son.
My son called me in tears. And he said that he felt betrayed. He felt like he had given her everything.
LaVon says the revelation made her son more determined than ever to fight for his marriage.
So he went up there and confronted this individual. And this individual basically said to him, "She's your wife. I know she's your wife, but I don't care."
But you don't care? This ain't hardly over. I will be back. Oh, believe that.
He was very upset. He felt very betrayed.
Authorities in Washington state are still pondering the possibilities.
There were allegations of an affair between Leon's wife and her coworker, Michael Brooks. So certainly that was an avenue that had to be investigated.
But when police sit down with Michael, he denies having anything to do with Leon's death.
Look, man, I wasn't anywhere near Gig Harbor that night. I had nothing to do with his death, okay?
All right. Well, we're gonna go verify your alibi. Hold on a second.
Sit tight.
When police check out Michael's alibi, it seems airtight. His cell phone is pinpointed far from Gig Harbor, and through witnesses, police were able to confirm he was nowhere in the vicinity the night Leon died.
But what's Yumiko's alibi? For that, detectives turned to her 16-year-old half-sister, Chelsea.
What we know was that child was in fact staying with Yumiko and her children at a hotel.
Was she there the whole night with you?
Yes. She did step out for dinner, but I mean, it was only for about 20 minutes or so.
Eventually, they rule Yumiko out because Yumiko was at the hotel with her children on the day that Leon was murdered.
Thank you so much for coming in. Appreciate it.
But just when it seems like their leads are drying up, a new one comes forward in the form of Leon Bachum's close friend, Jeffrey Harris.
Jeffrey Harris, Leon's friend, is the last person to see Leon alive.
Jeffrey tells police he had seen Leon on the night of Wednesday, July 11th, and that Leon seemed upset because he couldn't find his wife and kids.
He knew when he returned home that Yumiko was no longer at the residence and began calling and texting her, trying to find out where she's at.
He starts panicking, he's frantic. Finally, he meets with a friend, Jeffrey Harris.
Man, I really appreciate it. No problem.
But besides his family's welfare, Leon apparently had another reason to meet his friend that night.
We met about 10 p.m. that night to exchange vehicles. He had been driving my vehicle and I was driving his.
He's not supposed to be at the marital home, so he's been switching cars with his friend so that the police will not realize that he's there and he won't get arrested again.
Yumiko and Leon went to great lengths to protect themselves so that Leon wasn't arrested or charged with violations of the no contact order.
Everything all right? Yumiko tripping at the house. I'm going to my grandmother's house.
Look, man, anything you need, just let me know.
Thank you.
Leon gets his Cadillac Escalade back, and now he's trying to figure out where Yumiko is.
But Jeffrey tells police when Leon pulled away that night, that's not the direction he drove.
When Leon drove off, he was actually driving in the opposite direction than if he was going to Natalie's house.
It is the last time anyone sees Leon.
If Leon didn't go to Natalie's house that night, and he didn't want to risk arrest by driving his own vehicle home, what was his destination? Soon, detectives find another of Leon's close friends, Ronald Pratt, whom is integral in solving the mystery.
His best friend Ronnie said, "Wow, Leon called me that night, late at night, like almost 11.
He said that Jackie had called him and told him to come out there because Yumiko was there.
He had received a call from Jackie telling him that Yumiko was at the house, that she was upset and that she had wanted to talk with him, try to work things out.
Ronald recalls that even though Leon was anxious to get out to Jackie's house and patch things up with Yumiko, he also had his suspicions.
Leon was really concerned about Jackie Ray contacting police and saying that he was violating the no-contact order.
He was kind of concerned because he thought when he got out there that she might call the police and have him arrested.
He tells his friend Ron Pratt, let me drive over there and see what's going on.
That last phone contact that Ron had with Leon was close to midnight.
I ended up falling asleep. And when I woke up, I realized he hadn't called me back.
Ron became concerned about where Leon was at, whether he'd been arrested.
Ronald says that on the morning of July 12th, he reached out to the one person likely to have information about Leon's whereabouts.
Mr. Pratt contacts Yumiko the next day. She indicates that she hasn't seen Leon, she doesn't know why he would be out there, and doesn't know what he's talking about.
The problem is they know Yumiko was at the Comfort Inn, but they tracked her cell phone to Gig Harbor, which according to Ronald is where Jackie Ray said Yumiko was. So they bring back Jackie and Nathaniel to try and shed some light on the issue.
On July 20th, the Rays arrive to speak with detectives once again. This time, they're accompanied by their attorney.
We have reason to believe that your son-in-law drove out to your house on Wednesday, July 11th. We have evidence that shows that Yumiko's phone was pinging off towers near your house.
She told us during her statement that she had taken Yumiko's phone and left it at her house in Gig Harbor because there was knowledge that Leon had placed some sort of a tracking application on Yumiko's phone. I asked Jackie if Leon ever showed up at her house that night. She explicitly denied that he had ever been there.
Why did we find his body less than a mile from your house?
One moment, please. Gentlemen, I have directed my client not to answer that question. She will be invoking her Fifth Amendment privilege.
That was the only time that her attorney interjected and said that she wouldn't be answering that question. I thought that was a little suspicious.
With Jackie asserting her Fifth Amendment rights, detectives have no choice but to conclude their interview and release her. Detectives can sense the trail is hot. But the 49-year-old grandmother and respiratory therapist hardly fits the profile of a murderer.
Miss Ray was a participant in search and rescue crews. She was a Sunday school teacher.
But when authorities subpoena Jackie's cell phone data, what they find is nothing short of shocking.
Texts from her phone indicate that during the time that Leon was driving over, she was on the phone with another phone number.
We didn't know who the subscriber of that phone was, and it talked about that night, her telling this person that Leon was on his way over.
As Leon's on his way to her house, she's texting, he's on his way, hurry up, get here.
The text messages offer a promising lead, and authorities chase it down by serving a search warrant on Jackie's house on July 27th.
We actually located a couple things of interest. Outside in one of the vehicles, we found a box with some styrofoam peanut packaging.
They also find more Dora the Explorer cards in Jackie's minivan. So now they have the same evidence in Jackie's car that was at the crime scene.
But the most damning evidence isn't found by investigators. It comes from Jackie's own mouth.
Jackie, you mind if we talk to you for a second?
Yes, of course.
Thank you. We've got your cell phone records, and we've got your text the night of Leon's murder.
I pretty much dropped the bomb on her, and she was a little startled by that.
Jackie makes a very strange comment.
Look, I didn't pull the trigger.
Why? What do you mean you didn't pull the trigger? Well, what did you do? What part did you have in this?
Authorities leave the Ray household, but Jackie knows she's in hot water, and it isn't long before she takes destiny into her own hands.
It wasn't but a few days later when we received a call from Jackie's attorney telling us that she was ready to give a full confession. And I think she knew she was backed into a corner.
On August 1st, Jackie Ray sits down with investigators and finally comes clean.
I hired Louis Parker to kill Leon.
Louis Barker had just been released from prison. He was a friend of someone that Jackie Ray knew. He has an extensive criminal record.
She felt as though he would be the one willing to do what she needed to have done, which was having Leon killed. They had several different meetings, discussed details of how this was going to take place and how payment was going to be made.
The last place that they meet is a Starbucks. She makes a payment, makes the final payment.
Jackie explains how they lured Leon to her house on the night of July 11th.
Yumiko checked into a hotel that night with their kids because she'd gotten into it with Leon earlier in the day. And when Jackie got there, she took Yumiko's phone.
Jackie tells investigators that she convinced Yumiko to hand over her phone so that Leon wouldn't be able to track Yumiko to the hotel.
Yumiko wasn't answering her phone. So Leon called Jackie and left a message, and she called him back and said, oh, Yumiko is here and she's upset. And Leon's comment was, upset about what? Why is she there?
Put her on the phone.
She, in fact, took Yumiko's phone with her, which allowed Leon to know where that phone was based on the tracking device, and then explicitly lured him back to her house under the pretense that Yumiko was at the house and may want to talk to him that night.
Once she had Leon on the hook, Jackie set her plan's final horrible act in motion.
During the time frame that she's having that dialogue with Leon, she's also communicating with Mr. Barker saying, okay, are you going to make it out here? He's on his way.
Jackie says Leon arrived shortly before midnight at her home in Gig Harbor.
Leon pulls into Jackie's driveway, and then he hangs up. He hangs up with Ron. The worst that Leon thinks is going to happen is that he'll be arrested. He has no idea he is literally walking into a death trap.
The plan was to abduct Leon and take him somewhere else to be killed.
When he entered the home, these two guys were in the bushes outside the door. So when he walked in the door, they were right behind him, and one had a gun. And Leon knew that he was in trouble, and he began to fight for his life.
This is where it starts to become like a Coen Brothers movie. As often happens with amateur crimes, it went horribly awry. It turned out he was bigger and stronger than they anticipated, and so they ended up shooting at her house.
Why did you shoot him in the house? You're gonna get blood everywhere.
The grim deed was done. Jackie provided Barker and his accomplice a tarp and duct tape to transport Leon's body away from the scene.
These hired killers bound him with duct tape. The coroner's report says my son was still breathing when they dumped him.
Jackie says later that morning she drove Leon's white Escalade back to Natalie Leith's apartment complex.
She takes Leon's white Escalade to his grandmother's house because that's where he was supposed to be staying. She leaves it there, and Luis comes and picks Jackie up, and then they leave. And they pretend none of this happened.
As for Yumiko, Jackie explains her daughter was not involved.
It turns out Yumiko really didn't know what her mother's intentions were. She had no idea what Jackie was planning to do that night.
During our conversation with Jackie at her attorney's office, we asked her if she'd be willing to wear a wire, have a meeting with Louis to discuss his part, his role in Leon's murder. She was agreeable to that.
A week later, on August 7th, Jackie contacts Barker and arranges a meeting, much like the ones they'd already had while planning the murder.
She set up a meeting with Louis at a restaurant in Lakewood. She wore a wire, and the entire conversation was recorded.
At first, Barker is evasive.
Mr. Barker is sophisticated enough to know not just to discuss murder for hire in a public place, but he's willing to discuss it in an abstract way.
The police are snooping around. They come into the house and they're asking me questions.
It'll all blow over soon.
Louis maintains his vague demeanor until Jackie hits on a line of questioning that sets law enforcement's headsets buzzing.
Jackie also asks him, well, why did you do this in my house? This was supposed to take place somewhere else. Why did you do it inside?
He lunged for the gun, so we had to get him right there.
2 of our Special Investigation Unit detectives placed him under arrest.
Although police believe an unknown accomplice still remains at large, Barker refuses to implicate him.
After Lewis's arrest, he wanted an attorney right away, so we were never able to interview him. So that third person is still out there. We don't know who that is at this point.
In the months that follow, prosecutors face another tough dilemma.
The problem that we faced with regard to Mr. Barker was that if we didn't work out a deal with Jackie Ray, we wouldn't be able to use her statements against him in the course of his trial.
So ultimately, although prosecutors believe Jackie Ray could be convicted of first-degree murder, they offer her a plea deal for second-degree murder, and she takes it.
The family was very unhappy with the second-degree murder plea. We fought long and hard with the prosecutor's office to get those charges upgraded.
In my view, was just asinine to end up with a second-degree murder charge for a contract killing.
Jackie testified against Lewis at his trial, and her testimony helped convict him. He was sentenced to 34 years for shooting and killing Leon Baucom.
But it's at Jackie's sentencing hearing on February 7th, 2014, that Leon's family is in for a surprise. When it comes time to pick sides, Leon's wife Yumiko claims her mother's actions were arguably justified.
She was allowed to speak, and she was really caught in a difficult position because she's lost her husband. At the same time, her mother is the person who's responsible for his death. But she defends her mother. She tells the court that her mother was just trying to protect her.
Yumiko got up and said that she had been afraid for herself and her children.
For Leon's family, Yumiko's statement feels like a betrayal.
You could have heard a pin drop, because that is the biggest lie. As they say, the biggest lie since the devil learned to talk. When were you afraid for your life? When were your children's lives ever threatened?
But when Jackie makes her statement before the court, she confirms that fear is what motivated her actions.
Jackie said to the court that she acted because she was afraid that her daughter was in danger. In continuing danger, she felt that this was the only way that she could protect her daughter.
But Leon's family asserts in their victim's impact statement that at least part of Jackie Ray's story is false.
The lie was that Leon was a serial abuser of his wife. That was the lie.
Yumiko never came forward with any other instances of domestic violence. She was attempting to reconcile with Leon, by all accounts.
Prosecutors insist that what this case is really about is obsessive motherly control.
The motivating factor in hiring Lewis Barker to kill Leon was not fear for her daughter. She wanted that relationship over.
She just didn't like the man. Jackie was one of these mother-in-laws that had a key to his home, would go to his home when she felt like it, would disrespect him in his home, boss him around in his home. She basically was one of those nightmare mother-in-laws.
After hearing both sides, the judge ultimately sides with prosecutors.
Jackie was sentenced to 18 years in prison.
18 years is not enough. I believe that Jackie is the monster. For as much as she tried to portray my son as this horrible, mean person, your daughter was happy and well cared for and loved. Your grandchildren were well cared for and loved. But my son was mistreated. My son was harassed. And ultimately, my son was murdered. So who's the monster? My son was not the monster.